So, Acho, what is the biggest issue for the Lakers without LeBron?
So the biggest issue I think we're not talking about, which is obviously we know the Lakers going to struggle without LeBron right here, right now. But I always think about, like, what's the side effects? What's the collateral damage, if you will, right? So, like, you get injured. You tear an ACL. Everybody talks about, oh, you got hurt right now. There's an ACL injury. But you're 84% more likely to re-tear your ACL once you've already torn your ACL.
What was that number?
84%.
Who the hell told you that? You sure it ain't 85?
Look, science studies, right?
Okay.
So it's not just dealing with the damage of a torn ACL. Is what's the lingering effects? So what are the lingering effects of LeBron James being absent? The first one I see, the biggest issue is this. All of a sudden, the Lakers more than likely will drop to a 6 or a 7 or an 8 seed. And if you drop to a 7 seed, all of a sudden now you got to play in a play-in game. Or now you got to play against the Dallas Mavericks or the San Antonio Spurs. And all of a sudden, if you lose 2 games, boom, you missed the playoffs. So I'm not just worried about what's happening with the Lakers losing LeBron James right now, but the biggest issue is they're going to end up playing a little Russian roulette with their fate towards the end of the season. Lakers are 11-22 without LeBron James since he's shown up in LA. They're 2-4 without LeBron James the last 2 seasons. 33% win percentage without LeBron James. So their biggest issue is, I think they're going to wind up in a play-in game, which means LeBron James, if he does return, obviously we foresee him returning in the next 4 to 6 weeks. When he does return, now you got to play in 2 Game 7 caliber games just to get into the playoffs. That, for me, is the first biggest issue.
First biggest thing. Okay, for me, it's arrogance. But I'm going to get to that after I get to the fact that you started off your first sentence saying, what people are not talking about. Like, we just started the show. Who are these people you talking about? You watching these other shows? Man, don't look down there. Don't look down there. Stay with us, big dog. Your first sentence can't be what they talking about. It's what we talk about. Let's go there. And I love the fact that you highlighted the side effects, that fine print at the end of the commercials when they say, hey, take these drugs.
Bingo.
All right, we'll get to that. But here, without even waiting to the end of the commercial, it's arrogance. I remind people about this Lakers team that last year they had 2 of the top 5 players in the NBA. With the 5-month break and a bubble, and they won an NBA championship. Now, you could absorb all that and say, you know what? They're champions. But I'm going to remind you that all champions aren't created equal. One, every champion has never, ever been able to say, we did it during Corona. We did it during a pandemic. We did it with a 5-month break. We did it in a bubble. Who knows what the effects of all of those things were to this championship? But I will tell you this. If you don't have one of those stars, let alone 2 of those stars, that arrogance of that all champions are created equal will come back to bite you, because they're not. I tell you that these champions, the Los Angeles Lakers of last year, of all the recent champions, let's go back to 2002. The Lakers allowed the most points per game, highest opponent field goal percentage, and a highest opponent 3-point percentage. Why am I bringing that up? Because it shows that all champions are created equal, and it shows that the margin for error with this team was slimmer than any other champion that we've seen basically in the last 20 years. And that's with 2 of the top 5 players. And that's with a 5-month break that helped AD, who's historically injury-prone, and it helped LeBron James, who was just recently injury-prone. What were the Lakers without AD, a non-playoff team? What were the Lakers that year with LeBron James? Oh, kind of good when he was there, when he was available. But LeBron got hurt, they missed the playoffs, and they had no AD. They have AD, they have LeBron, they get a 5-month break, they play in a bubble, they become champions.
Yes, sir.
Careful, young man. If you don't think this team is believing that all we need is AD back, all we need is LeBron back, and everything will be fixed, you are deluding yourself and not believing that this team is arrogant, believing that all things are fixed because all things are equal. This team already had an uphill climb before AD got hurt. Now LeBron's hurt. Woo! That play-in game is going to have the Los Angeles Lakers on it, because the Los Angeles Lakers are going to find themselves swimming around 500 without AD and without LeBron.
The issue is the why. I don't disagree with you on the what, right? I don't disagree with you on the fact that they're going to be like a 7 seed trying to find a way to survive in a play-in game. But let's talk about the why, because use a word in the definition of the word. For example,
that's ignorance.
Emmanuel, how would you define humility? As someone who's humble. I hate when people do that. But the issue at hand is the Lakers role players are going to have to figure out how to play their role.
Oh, hold on, but you just hate. Oh, you just said that.
I hate doing it, but in this example, I have to do it.
All right, go ahead.
The issue of the why are the Lakers going to falter? Because their role players don't know how to play their role. So the Lakers were finally trying to figure out how to do things without AD, 6-8. And then in their last 8, they had won 6 out of their last 8 games. So now all of a sudden they were figuring things out. But who going to take the last shot? Who's going to create their own shot? Who can create their own shot? When I look at this roster, THT, maybe. Kuzma can create his own shot, but it ain't going to be a good shot. Like, that's the thing. Like, the role players are confused.
Okay.
Yesterday, in that game alone, KCP, 2 for 7. Wesley Matthews, 0 for 5. Keith, 1 for 6. 3 for 18, and those were their starters. How you going to get 9 collective points out of those 3 starters? The Lakers have an identity issue, which to me is the why, because it's a matter of you don't have anybody who can create their own shot. You don't have anybody who's going to take the last shot. You don't have anybody who can create a good shot. So when I look at this Lakers team and you talk about the what is we know they're going to struggle. The why is they were just starting to figure things out without AD. Just starting to. It won 6 out of their last 8 games prior to LeBron getting hurt. So we just starting to figure things out. Now you got to figure things out without AD and LeBron. And then they're both going to come back. And now you got to figure out how to play your role once again. We can't act as though issues that we claim for the Brooklyn Nets, we don't claim for the Lakers. The issues we claim for the Nets, man, KD, Harden, Kyrie, they won't have all played together before they get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Let's not get it twisted.
Yeah.
These Lakers wouldn't have all played together before they get to the playoffs either, and that to me is an issue.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I don't want to overtalk this because it's just a talent conversation.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Like last year, we were watching the Los Angeles Lakers go out there, and then they played a Voltron, I guess, the Miami Heat. Everyone's saying, oh, but they have 4 scorers, and they all score around 20 points a game. Oh, what's going to happen? I was one of those guys. And I was like, well, what are you going to do? How can you defend them all? But it was really a talent conversation. Do they have 2 of the top 5 players? No, they going to lose. Okay, this year, the Lakers, without 2 of the top 5 players, you're going to lose because it's just a talent conversation. Go back to the Golden State Warriors. When they won, it was a talent conversation. They had more talent. When they lost, that talent was injured. That's all this is. I look at it now, people are saying, well, they did win the championship. They did play the Heat. The Heat right now are 5th in the Eastern Conference. Ugh. The Celtics are 6th in the Eastern Conference, and that was the Eastern Conference Finals. I only bring that up to let you know these champions, when you think about leveling the playing field, when you try to go through a pandemic-shortened season, 72 games, it's not going to be a 5-month break. There won't be a bubble. What are these teams really looking like? One team is 5th in their conference. Another team is 6th in their conference. And the Lakers are sitting here under 500 without AD. 7-8 since AD last played on February 14th. Looks like Valentine's Day, but there's no love when you talk about that with these Lakers. These Lakers right now had a plan. And their plan was to simply put out LeBron James, who's the GOAT. And if you don't want to say that, at least he's the king. And then AD, and let's go to war. But man plans and God laughs. And God's laughing right now like, what's your plan B? And we all know playoff anything, any sport, football, basketball, it's what's your plan B? The Lakers' plan B right now, and this is with respect, is to roll out Montrezl Harrell in the front of the warm-up lines and say, we gonna get them. The other team know, nah, B, that ain't gonna happen. So the same Montrezl Harrell who had his issues in the playoffs last year to the point where he's not a Los Angeles Clipper, is now going to be the guy that leads the charge indefinitely while AD heals and LeBron heals. Give me something to smile about if you're a Lakers fan, because right now I don't see it.
Let's say this, and then I wasn't planning on going here prior to, but as you're discussing, you've taken me to a place.
Let's go.
This could, in theory, work out for the Lakers. Here is why. LeBron James, we know his mind is standing in the way of his body at times, right? Like, I'm not going to take any games off. I'm trying to win a regular season MVP. Or, you know what? Like, the fans just deserve to see me play every night. Right. I'm not going to cheat the game of basketball. But the fact of the matter is, hey, more than likely, y'all going to play the playoffs in a bubble, some type of bubble format. In which case, home court advantage don't really matter all that much. So the difference between being the 3 seed and the 6 seed is kind of irrelevant. So, Sal, if the Lakers, and since the Lakers, not if, the Lakers have played 19 more games than the Suns over the last calendar year, right? The Suns currently the 2 seed, Lakers currently the 4 seed. Let's go to the East. You just brought it up. The Heat have played 17 more games last calendar year than the 76ers because the Heat made it all the way to the finals and the Sixers didn't. The Sixers currently the 1 seed, Heat currently the 5 seed. So the Lakers, the Heat, the Nuggets, the Celtics, all the teams that were in the championship games last year have played anywhere from 17 to 20 more games than the top seeds this year. They fatigued. They might not want to admit they're fatigued, but there is chronic fatigue. If you're telling me LeBron James, finally, for only the 2nd time in his career, is going to get an extended in-season layoff, AD, finally, going to get an extended mid-season layoff, there is a chance that this might coincidentally play to the Lakers' advantage because LeBron James was never going to give himself the rest that PG gave himself against the Nets in a game-clinching situation. LeBron ain't never going to give himself the rest that Kawhi routinely gives himself. LeBron's never given himself the rest that Kyrie finds himself giving himself more often than not. So maybe, just maybe, LeBron's body is going to give LeBron James the rest of the fatigue that he actually needed. That's the only chance that the Lakers can find some sort of solace in this situation. There's truth to that, though.
Hey, what?
There's truth to that.
The way you were spinning that, what was those, some spree wells? They spinning. I mean,
let's be real. It's not a coincidence that all the championship teams are currently 5 and 6 seeds.
What do you mean, championship teams?
From last year. Eastern Conference Finals, Western Conference Finals. They were the best teams last year.
There's another theory. There's another theory.
What's the theory?
I try to tell you. There was an asterisk for last year basketball year, but people don't want to hear me. But the proof is in the pudding. The Lakers right now broke it down. Like, if they would have had to play through the entire season last year and the war of attrition would have added up on the Lakers and every other team, you would have saw a different result. I'm not saying the Lakers wouldn't have won, but it would have looked different. It wouldn't have been all those 4-1, 4-1, 4-1s. It would have looked different. You give old-ass LeBron and then AD, who's always hurt, 5 months and say reset. Man, they about to, and they started slow even at the beginning of the bubble, and then it went boom. I'm just saying it would have looked different. Oh, like this year. It's looking different. That was my point, Acho, but keep spinning. I like it. I love your point, though, about how LeBron, his mind will get in the way of his body. Kind of like this video when I saw LeBron James get injured on that high ankle sprain. Look at LeBron James right here. When he realizes that he has the ankle injury, he comes back out in this situation, because he has that 10-point record streak, and says, let me go keep that streak alive. I'm not even mad at LeBron.
I respect it.
I do, too. As a player, I would have did the same damn thing. But also, somebody would have checked me. One of my real homies would be like, bro, that's where your mind went as soon as you got hurt on the high.
Facts.
No, it's not facts. Let me tell you why. You ain't going to get no Kobe Bryant Achilles injury free throw line experience from that. You got a high ankle sprain, and you stand in the game. And first of all, I don't think people understand what we're saying because they don't know what a high ankle sprain is. Will you stop with the ankle sprain is like, tape it up, let's go.
That's it, nothing.
High ankle sprain had GBG missed 10 football games last year and damn near on the cut trading block. High ankle sprain affects everything from that low ankle all the way to the thigh. It's black as blue. On me, it's just blue. It's just the point is, you are debilitated with a high ankle sprain, but LeBron found just a little nitrous to go out there and keep that streak. That told me a little something about LeBron. But
What did it tell you?
What it told me? A little satisfied in this moment in terms of all the team experience. And let me just make sure I get mine because who knows how this team is going to play it out. What did it tell you?
It told me this. It's like LeBron James realizes this will probably go down as one of the most untouchable records in sports history. I think he's at 1,500?
No, it's 1,036.
Like he's at 1,000 consecutive games of 10 points.
Insane.
He knows nobody about to touch this. I'm not about to lose this record off of a high ankle sprain. It's not as selfish to me as it is like he's aware of all things at all times. You got a high ankle sprain. You about to miss a lot of games, and you're like, wait a second.
I take it back.
What y'all not about to do is take this untouchable record from me.
Okay.
Let me splash a quick little three and then go out. To me, I was like, LeBron, you always know what's going on. But you know me, I always look positive.
You love LeBron. Okay, but LeBron was there, and when AD was there, and you love LeBron, spin this a positive. 20th in the NBA in points per game. Told you this year's different. 22nd in the NBA in three-point percentage. Told you this year was different. 25th in turnovers. Told you this year is different, big dog. Say what you want. Last year, this year, ain't nothing gonna save you. No 5 months in bubble. Good luck, Lakers.